Hey trucked up guys and gals, it's true. If you bought a Silverado EV RST, consider yourself one of the fortunate few and quite possibly holding a future collector's item, because GM is pulling the plug on the top trim in its Silverado EV lineup. But don't mistake that for a slowdown or a policy reversal, because GM is putting the pedal to the metal on its entire Silverado EV truck offering. And the one who is likely to benefit the most will be you. There's a lot to unpack, so let's not waste any time. Dive right in and get totally trucked up. I'm releasing all my videos now in advance of the public YouTube release for all my paid Patreon members. So if you'd like to support the channel, get future added perks, and be the first to watch my videos, click on my Patreon flat tire and coffee fund link in the description below and consider yourself part of the inner trucked up family circle. And there's even more breaking EV truck news coming at us fast and furious. So stay tuned, click the like, subscribe, and bell notification icon for a lot more coming up right away. But first, GM's announcement that the top trim RST will no longer be in the Silverado EV lineup. And if someone is wanting some of those very specific features, they'll have to pop on over to the GMC camp and get themselves a Sierra EV option, which will still have them. This could be a very shrewd move by GM in streamlining each of their production lines. We're going to go over what's changed and some of the other super cool developments that make the whole lineup a real steal, because many of the things you didn't get in the work truck options before, you now do. First, here are all the new trim levels. We start with the work truck standard range. Now they've got the 2, the 1.3, the 4.5, the 8.3. I'm just gonna tell you what they are. There's the work truck standard range. There's the work truck standard plus range. Now that's fleet only. There's the work truck extended range and the work truck max range. Then we take a leap up from the work trucks, the WT versions, to the LT versions in standard, extended, and max range. So we've got the LT standard range, the LT extended range, and the LT max range. And then it popped up in 2022. And now in the 2026 production year, there it is. Our little outdoorsy truck, the Trail Boss extended range and the Trail Boss max range. I noticed it right away and I went gaga, because the long-awaited and coveted off-road oriented Trail Boss trim has finally made its consumer debut, and I think this truck is going to be a huge smash hit, especially when it was the one that I've always wanted. And we also look at some fundamental changes that GM has made that I think are brilliant ones, except for two. And I'm going to get to both of those. One of them actually really ticks me off. The biggest breakthrough first, however, is the price. All of the previous existing trims are cheaper than 2025. I know, that's nuts. How often do we hear that these days? GM's understanding that its customers are feeling the pinch, and we don't know how this tariff crap, is going to impact the prices moving forward. It's a crazy, tossy-turvy, crazy world right now. But remember that GM may have positioned itself incredibly strongly by having a monster share of their EV truck components made locally. Let's bring that list back up for a second, okay? And let's take a look and add in all the prices in US dollars before any shipping or freight or any special premium packages. We'll just look at the price of each truck compared to the previous year. So let's start right at the bottom. The work truck standard range, $52,800. Well, that's $2,000 less than 2025. Work truck standard plus range, the fleet only, that's kind of the new one now, that almost on par with the lowest trim before, is $59,500. Then we got the work truck extended range at $66,200. That's about $1,000 less than last year, the 2025 trim. And the work truck max range is $74,200, or $1,500 less than 2025. Then we take a leap up to the LT. The standard range, which is a newly added trim, that's $60,900. And the LT extended range is $69,100. Well, the same trim, the LT extended last year, that's $4,000 less than 2025. Now, the LT max range, the top LT, is $89,200, which is the closest equivalent to the RST, but a whopping $6,000 cheaper. And then we go into our newly arriving off-roady super duper Trail Boss. Extended range starts at a flat 70,000 and the Trail Boss max range $86,600. Overall, that's a big drop in the price structure and an improvement in trim choice and range options, especially when you start looking at all the little premium packages and add-ons that you can do. You've got so much variety now with this range of trucks. Remember, all of these trims, even the ones with the tiny battery packs, I just said tiny battery packs talking about Silverado EVs, they're mammoth battery packs, but comparably, let's just talk it from a theory of relativity. Einstein would kick me in the balls for that one. Every one of these has the best EV range currently out there. I mean, the best you can do, I believe, is the top max battery pack thing with the R1T, the Rivian, and that gets you around 420 miles. Well, the worst out of any Silverado EV trim estimate is around 405, 410, all the way up to almost 500, 492 miles, 792 kilometers. That's fantastic by any standard, even for gas. But what's really cool is what everyone now gets on every trim. Goodbye to that dinky little hard to read black and white frickin' center screen thing and that 1980s Game Boy looking center instrument cluster. All of them now get the larger 17.7-inch fully integrated infotainment system and the 11-inch digital gauge cluster. And all I can say is hello frickin' Lulia, because I thought for the money, the previous setup was so cheap looking and under par with everything else on the market that it was a real party pooper when these things came out. Well, GM was obviously paying attention, obviously listening, so nicely done GM, because this is like a huge step up for every trim. Also, the upgraded audio system is no longer optional, but standard on every trim. Again, good move. Another massive change is it's also time to say bye-bye to the air suspension and active dampening control in all Silverado EVs. Now, some people are going to be very sad and upset to hear this because they love that smooth ride. They love the air suspension. Well, I also think that this is a good move and a timely removal of complexity that has proven to be a bit of a service issue, from a service and maintenance side of things, a reliability issue. But if you do love that system, and you want that air suspension now, you'll have to just again make the leap and the switch over to the Sierra EV, which still has it. A bit of a disappointment for me was the removal of the four-wheel steering other than on the Trail Boss. With the Silverado EV being a bit of a tank, having the loss of that incredibly agile turning radius is kind of a bit of a bummer, but I get it. Chevy is looking to streamline its manufacturing process and standardize a lot more, which makes it easier to break even or make a profit off these things, which will be incredibly important for every automaker's long-term survival prospects in EV manufacturing or any manufacturing in these markets, for crying out loud. So RST folk, current owners of the RST, rejoice, because your truck just became a lot more desirable to own in the resale market, I'm guessing. You got the four-wheel steering, the crab walk, you've got all those bells and whistles that are now no longer available. Now, more examples of GM's strategy is in the fact that everything other than the WT2 and the WT3 will now get the multi-flex tailgate. I think one truck's optional, everything else standard. And if you're aware of the benefits of being able to draw more when on level 2, you want to have a more robust internal charger. GM has also equipped every truck, every trim, with a 19.2 kilowatt internal charging module. This is really important and basically means GM is thinking about future-proofing their trucks, unlike Ford, who moved back to an 11 kilowatt charging module in many of their trims, including my Flash, which pissed me right off. Things are happening out there as far as what we're going to be able to do on the road charging, and having that 19.2 kilowatt internal charger is important. So that's another win for GM. But what I seriously don't like, and I think is a major blunder, especially now they put in these big 17.7-inch infotainment interactive screens, is that not a single Silverado EV trim will have the option of Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. I think that's a very dumb move. And I think at some point, GM will have to eat crow and backpedal on this poor decision because so many people like their Apple CarPlay. I love Android Auto in my Flash, but we'll have to just wait and see. We'll see if it just works out and their own native software stands up. If not, expect an over-the-air update to try to fix the problem, but we'll see how it goes. The big question, in the top trim of the LT Premium Max range, what are we losing with the ending of the RST? Well, you can say goodbye to those massive and I thought rather useless truck on a truck having 24-inch wheels. The LT Max comes standard with 22-inch wheels. The LT Max no longer gets standard glass roof. It's still an option, but it's not standard anymore. And like I said before, there's no option for the air suspension or active dampening or the four-wheel steering. But the big story is the arrival of the much anticipated Trail Boss. As far as standard bells and whistles, you're basically getting all the goodies that you'll find in the extended Max LT trims, but then we're still looking at some new approaches, literally. You're looking at a newly designed front end, a new front bumper to increase the approach angle, and it's coming with a factory lift, 2 to 3 inch lift, 18-inch wheels on 35 all-terrain aggressive off-road tires. You'll be able to go a little bit more out there than any time before in a Silverado EV could ever tread before. And then you add in functional tow hooks, and they've come out with a new terrain mode that's giving the truck increased maneuverability in tight spaces. Now remember, the Trail Boss still has the four-wheel steering. What I'm going to be interested in finding out is about anything to do with locking diffs and something that's been missing in previous trims. We know they moved away from air suspension and gone with a more robust off-road suspension system. So all of that's going to be interesting, but we don't know the details yet. You know, what's nice is both the Trail Boss and the LT Max will still showcase that amazing mid-gate. They tied it into the name of the tailgate, so multi-flex mid-gate, I think they call it. It makes both of these trucks highly versatile. What's more is we've seen an improvement in the payload capacity coming up to 1,800 pounds, getting close to the Lightning now, and just shy of the gas Silverado at 12,500 pounds for towing capacity. With the best spec Silverado EV coming in at an EPA estimated 792 kilometers. Or 492 miles. That's on par with most gas-powered trucks on a full tank, whether towing, hauling, or not. All of these trims, every Silverado now, they're real trucks, regardless of the powertrain that's moving them. They can compete with an internal combustion light-duty truck. As expected also, all the huge benefits before of blistering fast charging speeds and versatility, they made their way into the 2026 models. So these are the kinds of changes we're going to experience as things streamline and reach higher production numbers and bring overall manufacturing costs down. Unlike some EV trucks, I don't think the Silverado EV is going anywhere. It's here to stay, at least for the foreseeable future, as an attractive truck at an increasingly more acceptable price with a lot more options for a lot more buyers. If you'd like to see my wonderful experience with Mike and his Silverado WT4 in beautiful Vancouver and Port Moody, as we went head-to-head with my old standard range Lightning XLT, you'll definitely want to check that crazy video out right here. As always, thanks for watching.